Back in here too, live and now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. It is nearly 8 o'clock on the East Coast as we're following the top stories. President Trump touching down back in our nation's capital, also making a big announcement in terms of Alcatraz, reopening that prison. You can look live now here at this as Air Force One on the ground at Joint Base Andrews. We'll soon see him take those steps back to another busy work week as he lands at Joint Base Andrews. We'll see if we have any comments on some of the top stories of the day, but we're just getting more information right now about this. A post on Truth Social from President Trump calling for the reopening of Alcatraz, saying rebuild and open Alcatraz. For far too long, America has been plagued by vicious violence and repeat criminal offenders. When we were a more serious nation in past times, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. No longer will we tolerate the serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That's why today I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, Homeland Security, to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent criminals. So that's a big announcement coming on social media today. And of course, lots of people are familiar with that notorious prison, as in the message he said they hope to reopen that former prison on a California island. Of course, notably, the prison was closed back in 1963. Alcatraz Island is currently operated by the National Park Service as a tourist site. The order comes as President Trump has been clashing with the courts as he tries to send accused gang members to the notorious prison in El Salvador without due process. President Trump has also talked about wanting to send American citizens there and also to foreign prisons. And you can just see some of these images there. Not far from the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz sits, and of course, notorious prison, but also notorious for a prison break that may or may not have been successful. A lot of conspiracy theories out there about this, but you can see some of these old footage sitting there in those cold waters just off the Bay Area in San Francisco, Oakland, and beyond. So we'll see what happens with this as President Trump calls for the reopening of Alcatraz there by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So you can just see some of these waves there off the coast, obviously notable for the fact that it was nearly impossible to escape. So we're just following this here on Live Now from Fox about this latest development with Alcatraz. We're also still waiting for President Trump to get off the plane there at Joint Base Andrews. One more time, a live look here on Live Now from Fox. You can see the doors open. The stairs are out for him to walk down. We'll see if he comes to the media or gets on Marine Force One to return to the White House for yet another busy week. Last week really marked the 100 days in office, and he capped it off with the commencement speech at the University of Alabama. We're going to hang with the shot just a little bit longer here, approaching 8 o'clock on the East Coast. You can see the sun is setting on our nation's capital here on this evening. Some people walking about. It could be not very long until President Trump gets off the plane. So plenty to talk about upcoming this week in terms of tariff concerns. Of course, the Port of Los Angeles talking about potentially the impacts could be started to be felt really this week. We're also learning that Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney will be in Washington, D.C. after the election last week. A mandate there in Canada as well for him after he replaced Justin Trudeau there atop the Liberal Party, now solidifying his spot as Prime Minister of Canada. All right, let's slide away for a quick 2-minute break. We'll get back to this shot and more top headlines after this.